Sandler will say none of this should or will, not will matter, none of this should matter, but Micah Parsons is putting on a show every week now with the Cowboys media at his locker at the Ford Center at the Star in Frisco. We have him talking about not needing to be the highest paid defensive player, sacrificing money to have more help around him, and how he just wants to be with his organization forever.
So I'm torn. On one hand, Micah loves being the star.
And he wouldn't hold out if the contract negotiation went as far as CeeDee Lamb's. And he wants Mike Zimmer back. He hit on all these things.
Oh, so he won't hold out, but he won't show up for off-season workouts. Okay, got it.
Yeah, why does he always is the center of the conversation, right? And there's something like, I get it. I appreciate what he's saying about not wanting to be the highest paid player. But like a part of it, like just, hey, I'm not talking about this right now. We're trying to win football games. Like just deflect. Now I will say, when the Stephen Jones comments kind of got twisted, I thought he handled that a lot better than I thought he would.
Yep.
And he could have made that a much bigger deal than what it ended up being. And I give him credit for that. He's a really good player. I've never once said that he is anything other than a Hall of Fame talent if he stays on the right path. But I think with some of the past financial decisions the Cowboys have made, and I'm not going to sit here and act like I understand the salary cap and all the different nuances the way that, well, I don't know that Stephen Jones does either, but the way that you're supposed to. But I've heard too many things, and there are so many signs. It's like, is this the guy you want to give another massive contract to? Or are you better off as an organization getting value, which maybe that ship has sailed, I don't know, but getting value and building from whatever move you make out of that type of transaction?
Yeah, I think so. It's hard to look back at a history and say, for instance, were the Raiders better off without Khalil Mack? Because the answer is no, they weren't. But it's also like, okay, but it's the Raiders who have had trouble building teams. So can you fairly look at it? We probably need to look at teams we consider good building teams, what's happened when they've let go of top-end talent. I'll say this about Micah. You mentioned how he handled the question pretty well about the Steven comments and things like that. I don't know if this is accurate. I at least had heard that Micah hadn't even seen those comments when he was asked about it. That was the first time he had heard about it.
What?
And he answered it. He's. I don't know that people give him enough credit.
Bobby thinks he's really premeditated with his media stuff.
Very smart. I think he's incredibly smart, and I think he is very much like Jerry. I think you pointed this out a couple weeks ago, that he's very much like Jerry and just knows exactly the right thing to say to get the attention that he needs, is very, very sharp and knowing what clicks, what's buzzy, what are those things. Yeah. I think he's got a great sense of that, just like Jerry does.
Well, look, let's get into what he actually said. Let's go point by point. Made it clear he doesn't, and fans are going to eat this up. Made it clear he does not need to be the highest paid defensive player. Said it would be nice, but it would also be nice to be surrounded by good players. Quote, players going to help you win championships. I want to keep as many guys as possible. That, in my fan brain, makes me, think negatively and worse of Dak Prescott, who wanted as much as possible twice. Not once, but twice. Micah, I want to work with them as much as possible. I don't need 40 a year. I need to be somewhere where I can have a lake house. He said he would like to have a new contract before the start of training camp. And even if he doesn't get one, he doesn't plan to hold out. Subliminal, not shot from Micah, in my mind, I think negatively about CeeDee Lamb. In that instance, CeeDee held out, right? So there's I don't need the most money like Dak. I'm comparing it. This is just myself comparing it, not anybody else. And then he said, I would like Mike Zimmer to return at some point. If I hold out, that hurts me in terms of learning a new scheme. Zim has done a tremendous job. I got to be around guys. There's a chemistry part. I still got to be there for that part. Just eating it all up like a Bobby Belton griddle.
But he's eating it up in a way that favorably points the spotlight on him, while also, as you just indicated, maybe casting some strays on his teammates. Like, there's a way that you can say that where it's favorable for you without...
How can you say that any better way in which he did?
You can say, hey, everyone's got their own situation, their own priorities, and I respect that, right? I'm not going to comment on the way another man handles that situation. For me, this is what is important for me. And that is a way you say it where you
But
indirectly...
he didn't compare any of this to the other guys.
No, I know, but you're saying, like, you...
I'm thinking it.
You are, and if you're thinking it, Sean, that means other people are thinking it. And what does CeeDee Lamb
don't have that
think?
brain power.
What does CeeDee Lamb think when he sees that or gets told about that? Because he does or he will. What is Dak Prescott thinking? I do agree. I think Micah Parsons is calculated. I think that there is a strategy. Again, he loves holding court. He's got his podcast. He's this, he's that. I just think that he misses the mark. Like, he throws the dart on the target, but he doesn't hit the bullseye the way I think he thinks he does.
He then dropped the final one that everyone I knew posting this was going to get all the retweets. Eagles versus Washington this week. The Cowboys need the Commanders to lose to keep their slim playoff hopes alive. So are you rooting for the Eagles to be the Commanders? Micah, nah. At this point, it's F Philly. Even if we get eliminated, like, I got to crush Philly. F them. I hate them now. I'd be seeing them talk so much on social media. Gobble, gobble, gobble.
That's what
gobble,
I mean.
Gobble, gobble,
I'll give it up to him. He knows, all right, this will put this on a platter. This will get. I'm doesn't matter if you want us to win out, if you don't want us to win out. Me just saying, well, regardless of what it is, screw Philly. I'm definitely not going to root for them no matter what. That's the
I'd rather miss the playoffs than have them win the title.
Which, again, it's very calculated in all likelihood, because this is the same guy who is King Jersey Swap and King. I love having this player on my podcast or this person here. He loves the interaction with the other team. He is not the biggest. I have such animosity to the other sideline. I can't even be friends with those people. And then I was putting that out there with Philly. He's got friends on Philly. He's from Pennsylvania. He in all likelihood grew up an Eagles fan, if we're being honest. And so that's the thing that I think is funny, but it's good. He's a good marketer. And I know you say you don't think he hits the mark. Depends on what mark you're trying to hit. I think he hits the exact mark he's looking for every single time.
I think he hits the mark if you're trying to get fans to fall for your act. I don't think that he hits the mark in being the best teammate or leader that I think he thinks he is. Like, we're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers later, and I am going to tell you that I think it's great that you have athletes who allow you into their lives, but at the end of the day, Derek Jeter, Tom Brady, these guys barely ever said anything, and those guys probably did more favorably by not saying anything in terms of building a culture in a locker room or clubhouse than guys who constantly need the spotlight on them.